Hey there, so this is a quick video on how to write music with borrowed chords. I did a theory video on what borrowed chords were and how to use them and such last week, so I'll have a link down in the description if you want to check that out if you're completely unfamiliar with borrowed chords. If you are familiar with them, or if you've seen that video or whatever, this is how you can actually write some real music with them. And this is something I wrote. My little cousin played a little motif on a piano, and I tried to come up with this orchestral arrangement based off of that. And this is what I wrote, and I used a whole bunch of borrowed chords in it. The basic chord progression I was using was pretty simple. It was a 1 to a flat 7, down to a flat 6, back to a flat 7 to a 1. So I wasn't necessarily thinking with functional harmony when I was writing that. I just like that sort of descending bass line and then it coming back up to the 1. So that's what I chose to use. As far as the melody that goes over it, that's kind of the trickier part, I guess. It's really easy to pick out chords. I personally find it very easy to just choose chords to throw into that kind of sound cool, especially when you're using stuff like borrowed chords. It's really easy to come up with neat progressions. But as far as like what melodies you should play over it, that's kind of what this video is supposed to be about. So first off, let me pull up the little keyboard here. So what my cousin played was this little motif, went like this. That's all I had to work with. So I couldn't really make a melody out of that, so I made it sort of a background texture. So for the first chord, we start off with the C major, and so I played her basic motif over that. And then I went down to the B flat major, and I shifted, seeing as how the B flat major is just a whole step down, I went ahead and just shifted down that motif she played a whole step. Sorry, I can't play my own thing. But what you'll see there is now I'm using C minor, right? Because there's that flat 3, flat 7. So when I use the chord that I borrowed from the minor, I was using the C minor scale, right? Makes sense. Then it goes down to the A flat major, and I thought about just shifting down, and something sounded weird about that though. So I ended up moving it back to the initial position where she played but I made it minor. So now instead of this, it was this. Which I think is kind of cool because it has that sort of suspense that it's almost like a sus chord, but it's not. It's just a minor chord to a major chord. It's really strange. But that's something really cool that you can do with using borrowed chords, is you have this strange contrast between major and minor. So definitely use that to your advantage. And then just for the sake of finishing this up, when I went back up to the B flat major, I did the same. And then it goes back to C. So that's what I did. And I think it did a good job of using that motif she came up with. But that wasn't the main melody. I'll play this. You may have heard it before, but I'll play it real quick. Here's the main melody. So what I was doing there is essentially it's just using a similar kind of leap scheme. I'm just going to solo it out so it's just the piano. This is basically, I started with this piano and I just expanded that into the orchestra. So everything in this composition is contained within this piano for the most part. So here's what I'm doing here. Oh, I gotta click on this piano to make a sound. Okay. So we're over the C major chord, right? So the first thing I did was I leaped up to the 3rd. That's a chord tone, so like that E is in a C major chord. That makes a really heroic and very memorable sounding melody too. So, and then it went down to the B flat major. So I played a D. That's the 3rd of the B flat major. Then I went from a D to an E flat down to the D. So bum ba da. But that was kind of on an offbeat, so that because that's outside of the chord. So that is really like a sus. But I did it on a weak beat. Da da. And then I go down to the C, which is the 3rd of my flat 6 chord, A flat major. Another on the weak beat sus thing. And then I went And what I was doing there was my target note was this C. So I went ba-da-dum bum ba. So I was bouncing all around that C. Oh, excuse me. I was bouncing all around the C. That's a cool thing to do whenever you have a target note, to like play around whatever it is you're trying to get to. So that finishes the first phrase. I'll play that for you real quick. And here's that target thing. Okay, so that was the first phrase. For the second phrase, let's take a look. So it's a similar thing here. Bum, da, da. So that was like a passing note up to the third of the chord. Dun, 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 dun. So now we're playing the B flat major. This is all contained within the C minor scale. So I mean, we're not playing any like the flat third or the flat sixth or the flat seven or anything. But that F is in C minor. Dun. Another passing note. And we're trying to get to this note, which is the A flat. So that was like a walk up to it. Dun, dun. Now we're walking down to the third of the B flat major. Then we just go te, do, bum, bum. So that's essentially all I'm doing. Just whenever you're going to your other chords, try to think of a way that you can, overarchingly connect all of your musical ideas, like constantly going to the third. Sounds really cool. And then playing around different notes, even if like you're, like I think this is a good example of, because you're in minor. And then you go to the C, and then all of a sudden we're in major. So we just played that minor, that flat 3. And then it goes right up to the major 3, and it gives it like a really cool contrast between the two. So when you're trying to write music using these borrowed chords and such, definitely try to implement that sort of contrast. Try to keep coherent ideas between what you're doing. And with your chord progressions and such, don't be afraid to do some pretty crazy sounding stuff. Because I mean, what I'm doing here kind of makes sense, but it doesn't have to be like super duper functional with what you're doing. You're already using a bunch of weird chords, so it's kind of cool to find a unique sound in that respect. So let me know if you have any questions down below going forward about how to use borrowed chords in your own writing and such. I'd be happy to help you in any way I can. Hopefully this video was at least a little bit helpful to you. I'm still learning a lot of this stuff on my own, but I wanted to kind of put out there what I was doing so that other people could see it, and maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. But either way, thank you for watching if you got this far in the video, and I'll have some new stuff coming out next week. We're going to be talking about Jeremy's Soul all next month, so that'll be interesting. Some good old Skyrim stuff. Thanks for watching, guys.